All right, good morning, everybody, from up at the live desk here at KCTV5. I'm Bill Hurlbrink, joined alongside by Jillian Carroll, getting ready for this big major announcement coming to Kansas City here in the next 30 minutes. We have crews over at Arrowhead getting ready to stream this all for you live here on KCTV5.com. Of course, also here on the Facebook page and everything. So again, just about 30 minutes away from what's going to be what is called a major announcement for the World Cup here in Kansas City. Of course, the World Cup set to come to Kansas City in 2026, so not this year, not next year, not the following years, but 3 years from now. So really interesting to see what they're going to be announcing today, Jillian, and what a time it's been here in Kansas City for sports and for development over these last few months.
Sure, this huge announcement has been a long time in the works, we all know that, and I think it is so appropriate based off of the growth of the game of soccer specifically. Looking at Kansas City's teams, as we have the KC Comets in the MISL, we have Sporting Kansas City, we have obviously KC Current, we have the fan base. I mean, look at this party. They never fail to show up. Obviously, have some major names coming through our city, not only representing the U.S. side as far as national teams go, but the French team, the Irish team, I mean, you name it, the Brazilian team. We've had players coming through our city, and so I think it is going to be hopefully a informative major announcement. We're looking for some information here as to what we can expect happening in our backyard.
Well, we're going to dive into that here in just a little bit, but let's talk about where we are now. Overnight last night, the new FIFA branding for the World Cup was debuted, and this is a look at it right now. We are 26. There's been a little bit of response on Facebook and Twitter about it, and actually this here that you're seeing is the custom logo for Kansas City. This is the first time that there's been custom logos made for each of the host cities. Ours, obviously, you can see is an homage to our fountains, but also I saw a couple of people tweeting that it almost looks like the Kauffman Center on the front of it as well. But again, the colors, a little bit of a teal, a little pink, some dark blues, light blues, very fitting for Kansas City as well.
Yeah, I see all of our major teams represented here. I see red for the Chiefs, which is obviously Arrowhead Stadium where the games will hopefully be happening. I see teal, of course, shout out KC baby. We've got KC Current colors on there, and then I see the blue representing both Sporting and the Royals.
I definitely see that as well. We're not the only ones that had custom logos rolled out. Also, some of the other host cities saw it. You see a full list of the host cities here spanning from Canada, the U.S., down to Mexico, Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Guadalajara, Houston, of course, us here in Kansas City, L.A., Mexico City, Miami, Monterey, New York, Jersey, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Seattle, Toronto, and Vancouver will all host World Cup matches as they come to North America here in 2026. And I believe we have some of the other logos that were brought up. This is going to be for Dallas.
Look at that.
Very bright in nature. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is Dallas, right? You know, it's going to be summertime, so it's going to be kind of wild, sunny feeling. I think I like the brightness to it all. Interesting with the two-tone green here, with the neon green and then the dark green, but looks pretty good.
Very, very bright indeed, yeah. So now just down the road there in Houston, they kind of have a little animated one featuring different scenes from around their community. Still playing on the We Are 26, but again, with a lot of local ties there to the Houston area.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Maybe they're trying to one-up everybody, but the video is fantastic. And Houston, I've been down there for MLS games. They also have a strong NWSL side in the Houston Dash. And whether you're a Dynamo or Dash fan, the people of Houston love the game of soccer.
Yeah,
they
Houston
show up a lot.
Says this is meant to highlight their city's innovative, diverse, and authentic spirit using those images and those colors there.
Very cool with the video, though.
Yeah. Miami also debuted theirs here recently. And I mean, that looks pretty authentic Miami, right?
I mean, that does what screams Miami more than I see some palm trees, I see some pinks, some teals. It reminds me of the Super Bowl logo that we saw.
Yeah, from when the Chiefs were down there.
Yeah, it looks great.
And then finally, Philadelphia also debuted theirs as well. This looks almost some Jets color, or Philadelphia Eagles. Sorry, not the Jets, but a little lighter green than for them, almost Seahawks type colors.
Yeah, I agree there. But nonetheless, it's bright. It's catchy. You know, you're gonna look twice if you see that on a shirt or a banner somewhere.
And the other thing that I saw that I was interesting is they used the Liberty Bell and its crack from part of the background of the image there as well for Philadelphia's logo. But again, these host cities were all announced last May, and Kansas City has just seen so much since last May. Let's just take a time to step back here. What all Kansas City has seen since May. Obviously, we've seen the Chiefs into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. We've seen a Chiefs parade. We saw the
parade.
opening of a brand new terminal up at KCI.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen, the NCAA tournament games, the Big 12 championship. And then the NFL draft came to town, and now we're looking forward to this. See, I talked to Mayor Lucas here a couple of months ago during the playoffs, and I was like, Mayor Lucas, are we just going to keep excelling? Are we going to keep advancing and just capitalizing on this momentum? And he says, you know what, Nashville and some of these other cities, Austin didn't just pop up.
Right.
It's this gradual growth of different projects like this to keep a city growing and keep a city expanding.
Mm-hmm.
So really excited to see what this 11 o'clock announcement is going to be. Again, Mayor Lucas will be in attendance at today's press conference. Missouri Governor Mike Parson, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, the bi-state.
Yeah, that's what's so
very
cool.
Interesting,
I think that's what makes us so interesting is that we are a city that's in 2 states, and look at the leadership group coming out to share the information. I think this is a stellar lineup.
Clark Hunt from the Chiefs, obviously. Cliff Illig from Sporting Kansas City. Kathy Nelson with the Sports Commission. Frank White with Jackson County. Of course, obviously the Hall of Fame Royals player as well. Then also list leaders from the Kansas City business community. So is this a transportation type initiative? Is this a way to get people around the city to Arrowhead where these games are going to be played? Is this an economic development? Are we growing some new sports center that a team is going to train at or a country is going to train at that can be used by our kids or our sport teams,
Or is it a combination?
Yeah.
It could be many of those things. We saw the streetcar making its way through the city. I think that's going to be part of this new branding. We'll see some new wraps there. And again, looking at the beautiful stadium there was some renovations a few years back to make sure it was large enough. The press box was enlarged a bit. The actual field itself, I always point this out because the soccer player in me just has to. The football field is not as big as the soccer field. So they did move out some of the stands and enlarge the field. So again, it's been a long time coming, and the work has been put in, and now today with this group of community leaders all in one place, I'm very excited to learn about the information they're willing to share.
All right, well, let's get on over to Arrowhead where our Neil Jones and Nathan Vickers are here this morning. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. You've been out, Neil, you've been doing sports longer than anybody else I know in this city, so I know you've got your pulse on the finger, or your finger on the pulse of the community when it comes to this type of stuff. Have you heard anything about what's going to be announced today, or have you kind of got any kind of background from folks that you've been seeing there at Arrowhead this morning?
Nothing specific. Alongside Nathan Vickers. Nathan, I think it's safe to say FIFA, they call the shots. The international group that oversees soccer in the world, they oversee the rules, they oversee the World Cup, they oversee how leagues are operated. They call the shots, and this is something they do in every World Cup city before every World Cup. A lot of it is just to let people know what's going on. Show them some of what you got here, Nathan. This is what they've handed out. I know you guys have talked about that, but this is the first of what is going to be a flood of FIFA World Cup merchandise that will be all over Kansas City in the next months and next years. So they're announcing that. Maybe we learn a little bit about how many matches will be here. We know there's a minimum number, but remember, they've expanded the World Cup. This is going to be the biggest World Cup, 48 countries, but what makes it bigger is they've added games because they're going to have more teams advance to the knockout stage, which means there'll be more matches. It'll last over about 39 days, 104 matches. I don't think this is going to be anything like what we've seen in Kansas City before, because World Cup fans come and they stay. This is not a 3-day event like the NFL draft. This is going to take place over a period of over a month, and if it's anything like the 1994 World Cup that was in the United States, fans are going to come and they're going to stay, they're going to eat, they're going to go out as long as their team stays alive.
I think you're absolutely right, Neil. A lot of people have been talking about the NFL draft, comparing the World Cup to the draft, but I think it's just going to blow it out of the water, both in terms of sheer numbers and world exposure. Kansas City talks a lot about being the soccer capital of America, and I think a lot of local Kansas Cityans feel like this is our chance to prove that Kansas City is the soccer capital of America. And, to your point, FIFA has called the shots on this. They've been very tight-lipped. as to what this is about today. But I think when you look at the guest list and you see Governor Mike Parson and Laura Kelly both being here, I think that gives you a sense of the scope of what this announcement is going to be about. I think we'll come away from today with a much better understanding of what the World Cup is going to look like in Kansas City.
Well, Nathan thinks that he thinks it might mean that Sporting Park, or what was Sporting Park, now Children's Mercy Park, the 19,000 seat facility in KCK, might actually get an opportunity to host a game. I don't see that happening. 76,000 seat Arrowhead Stadium, they're going to have to retrofit it and do some construction on the corners of the stadium. They've done that all over the United States for World Cup soccer matches. They've had to change everything, including the Cotton Bowl back in 1994. So I think that the matches are going to be over there. I think that the reason both governors are here is because this truly was a bi-state effort to get the cup here. But we don't know. I know this. We're going to have live reports at noon. We're going to be live out here at 4, 5, 6, and 6:30 on KC Sports Tonight and covering whatever comes out of this press conference.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start seeing branding everywhere. I think this is the start of really the big push in Kansas City to promote this, to really communicate with people about what changes are coming. There's been a lot of talk about transportation, as you mentioned earlier, Bill, in terms of creating public transit routes from the airport to the stadiums, to the training facilities, so that fans can be involved. Because when people are coming in from around the world, they're not coming in to rent a car. They're going to have to take the bus. They're going to have to figure out some things like that. And so Kansas City has a lot of things they have to figure out along the way as well.
Well, imagine if the Kansas City Chiefs were playing in a world championship over in Europe, and they were going to be over there. Now, we're going to see the Chiefs go to Germany next year for 1 week. Imagine if they were going over there to play for 39 days, possibly, as long as they kept winning. Kansas City fans wouldn't go over for 4 days. A lot of people would go over to stay for multiple weeks to watch as many matches or many games as they could, and I think that's the way it's going to be. Kansas City came very, very close to being able to be a World Cup host city back in 1994. Basically, FIFA came to Lamar Hunt and said, "What do you want?" He was the godfather of American soccer, respected by people around the world in the soccer community because he not only believed in soccer, he invested in soccer. One of the guys who started the MLS, our professional league that continues to go on. In fact, when he passed away, he owned 2 franchises in MLS. So everybody says that FIFA went to him and said, "You get to choose the city." Which city? He lives in Dallas. It was between Dallas and Kansas City. Everybody said he chose Dallas. That ended up being the host city for the Mexican national team, and it was a massive things for Dallas. And, of course, the Hunt family played a huge role in getting this here in Kansas City this time.
Yeah, really a 30-year process or longer to bring an event like this to Kansas City, especially one centered around soccer. I liked what you said earlier, comparing the Chiefs playing in Frankfurt to this, because I think there's some culture shock when you go abroad and you see an American football game overseas. And similarly, we'll have people from all over the world coming to Kansas City. And for the time that the World Cup is here, Kansas City is truly going to be an international city.
Well, it's interesting because Kansas City was the smallest city chosen to host World Cup matches. 11 U.S. cities were chosen. By far, Kansas City, the smallest. Around the country, there was criticism. Why are they going to Kansas City? It's in flyover country. It's hard to get in there. It's not a hub for the airlines. It's small. How are they going to handle this? Well, guess what? I think that Kansas City is going to blow away the rest of the world. They have no idea how passionate we are here in this town about sports and how much we support. And if Team USA ends up playing a match here, guess what? That'll be the toughest ticket in Kansas City, unless it might be the AFC Championship game.
That's exactly right. You just reminded me of a great quote that Kathy Nelson had when the announcement came through, and we asked her about how we were the smallest city to get this. And she said, what really impressed FIFA was that Kansas City wears hearts on our T-shirts. We have the great Charlie Hustle heart shirts, but we also wear our hearts on our sleeves. And it was the heart that got us this bid and that got us these matches.
And Jillian, I think that Nathan should bring this back to give it to you, since you're the only person here who is an actually good soccer player, a Division I player at Northern Iowa, a superstar at Aquinas on state championship teams. I challenge Nathan to bring this to you. I'm going to take mine and sell it, so I can't bring
Neil, I appreciate
it. You got it.
I appreciate that. You got the boots on the ground, though. You're there getting us the information, so I'm very grateful. But yes, of course, a huge soccer lover, and of course, a product of Kansas City soccer myself. I'm very proud to say that too. So I appreciate the shout out there. You guys look great, and thanks for bringing us the info.
All right. Well, continuing on here again, just to go on to something else that Nathan was talking about there about Kansas City really being an international city. I remember back in 1994 when the World Cup was here in the U.S. and how many of my friends that played soccer, their families road tripped from Kansas City down to Dallas.
Yeah.
So in addition to that worldwide travel of all these countries, all the fans of these big soccer teams traveling here, we're going to see a lot of regional travel as well. From cities that didn't get it. So think about from everybody up north to here that didn't get a game. Everybody, maybe off to the east that didn't have a game. They're going to want to travel to Kansas City. So again, that's the hotel rooms, that's the dinners, that's the merchandise that Neil was talking about that people are going to go after. So this is really a big deal. It's hard to think it's 3 years away. So it seems like it's a long time away, but depending on what this announcement could be, it could be very little time as well. Let's think about economic development projects. You don't just build a building and it stays there. It takes time to plan, it takes time to design, it takes time to build and contract. Transportation. You can't just, you saw how long it's taken to get some of the KC streetcar stuff to go just from the River Market to Union Station, and kind of the headaches that we're seeing on Main Street with the expansion of that. Now, they're headaches that you got to go through,
Learning
right?
moments,
I understand
of
that.
course.
But, if we're thinking about putting some sort of transportation system in from downtown out to the sports complex, I don't know what mileage that takes. I know from my traffic reporting, it's 10 minutes to drive from downtown
on a good day,
where there's no traffic. So these things take time. So maybe that's why we're hearing this announcement 3 years out from when it's going to be. And the fact that it's following so closely on the heels of this branding announcement makes me just wonder what it could be. And again, just seeing some of this video from previous years' World Cups, it just reminds me, and it's just so cool to see how Kansas City continues to come out, continues to support, gets down there in the Power and Light District, and they throw one heck of a party.
Yeah, and it's just the momentum is only building, right? And so, of course, the anticipation now, of course, 3 years, who knows what it's going to be. But again, in those 3 years, we're going to open another soccer stadium, soccer-specific stadium, of course, the first female sport purpose-built stadium in the world. It's going to be right here. So I imagine that this is just the start of continuing that motivation and that momentum. That looks pretty great right there. It looks like they've got one of the banners out. Who knows where that one will end up.
That's from our reporter, Nathan Brennan. He is out. It looks like that's going to be one of the ones that you're going to see down at Union Station. So, of course, they have the big arches out in front of the facade of the building, and those will be the banners that go up there. That was from about 9:13 this morning, so they may already be up there. Janae, I don't know if we have our tower camera. We have to take a peek over at Union Station to see if we got any of that stuff in picture yet, if we look just to the north. But still, so cool. Then here is some of the unveiling ceremonies from this morning. Again, 2 a.m. our time when all this happened and went down out in L.A. And, you saw the new FIFA branding for this. Again, we are 26. Referencing 2026, obviously the year it begins to take place.
Yeah, of course. This is obviously President Gianni Infantino, FIFA World Cup president, but an American on the stage in Alexi Lawless right there, a huge part of the fabric of what is U.S. soccer. Of course, now without the trademark
he doesn't
hair.
have the hair like he used to back in the 90s, but still, you see him in all the broadcasts and everything when you watch the games.
A huge presence in the men's game specifically. So really cool to have that. And again, quite the production here. It looks like they've got some performances, light shows going on. This is just proof that this is a massive event.
And also to your point about building new complexes here in Kansas City, something I was just thinking about is that, we also, in addition to building the professional stadiums, Kansas City still continues to build out club fields and other fields that our kids can use and our high schools can use. The Compass Mineral Fields, they're not too far from Legends is open, and it's super packed all the time. The Garmin Fields out in Olathe, the Shields Fields there in Overland Park. I know there's new fields up off of 45 Highway and 435, not to mention the Swope Soccer Village. It's just a continuing growth of the game here in Kansas City. And again, to see these games come to town here in 3 years is just... it's just another level of seeing that continued growth, that continued push for growth in Kansas City, and just to capitalize what we've been on here for the last several, which seems like just like a tear with everything, being so successful.
No, it's been great.
And even going back to to 2013, talk MLS Cup from the Sporting Kansas City, and it was at 2012 they hosted the All-Star game.
Oh, it was right around there.
I mean, it seems like within these last 10 years, there's been so much success and so much focus on sporting and athletics in Kansas City, whether it be the Major League All-Star game, the MLS All-Star game, MLS Cup in 2023, followed by the Royals runs in 14 and 15, and the Chiefs in 19, 20, and 21 and 22. It's just... it's crazy to see the success. And growing up here, we weren't used to this back in the 80s,
No, I
right?
always laugh, and so I still coach in youth programs today, and part of me is, I laugh, but part of me is like really salty because when I grew up, I had grass fields. My poor parents were driving all the way out to Heritage Park out south. We did not play on turf. As Neil mentioned, I spent 4 years at St. Thomas Aquinas High School on the grass field.
Yes.
That was really just a football field that they put goals on. Now it's turf, and I think that all the facilities across the city are all, you want them to evolve, clearly, but I also appreciate the fact that the talent has matched the evolution.
Oh, yeah.
So you can look at some of the youth clubs in our city now, and they are competing regionally and nationally. There's local kids getting tapped to represent, their country as far as the U17 national teams. We've got some Kansas girls there, a U20 national team. So it's an interesting evolution. Not only the facilities that is man-made, but also the talent of our kids, and I think it's cool. I think obviously the women's team here, I keep bringing it up, but I'm just super passionate about it. I think that all plays into this, and I think they're modeling how to do it and do it the right way.
And we're taking a live look there from our tower camera. Actually, that's from one of the Earth cameras, and you can see looks like they do have one of those
look
banners
at
up there on the far right arch, again, of Union Station. So again, you're going to start seeing those pop up all over town. Here, there is a list of them. So again, those Union Station banners are going to be going up from now until about 2:30 this afternoon over at Mill Creek Park. They started doing a lawn painting at about 8 o'clock this morning. I think our reporter swung by that, so we should have some video of that coming up on KCTV5 News at noon. The National World War I Museum and Memorial on the North Lawn, which you can kind of get a picture of there at the bottom of your screen. They're going to be doing a painting there at 12:30. That's following the Mill Creek lawn painting. Again, the streetcar is going to have a new wrap that has a lot of these logos on it. The Kansas City cityscape at dawn or at dusk tonight, we should see a lot of these colors that you see on the Kansas City logo for the World Cup, and then a lot of different digital displays. So a lot of those, banners and billboards, you should start to see those coming throughout the day here in Kansas City. But again, we're only about 5 minutes away from this announcement. A lot of important people gathered down at Arrowhead, going to talk about some big grand announcement coming to Kansas City for the 2026 World Cup. Major
has been added back into that.
Is how they couched it, yes. So
We
again,
did see.
again, the secondary release they sent out, it took out Major, but now we have Major back.
Major's
we'll
back
see
in.
We'll
So
see
that's
what we're going to talk about a little bit later on today. But
They've
again,
got the whole stage set up. Looks like it's going to be a full-on presentation.
yeah, getting the crowd packed in there. So again, speaking at this again today, Mayor Quentin Lucas, both of the Kansas and Missouri governors, so Mike Parson, Laura Kelly will be there, Clark Hunt with the Chiefs, Cliff Illig with Sporting Kansas City, Kathy Nelson with the Sports Commission, Frank White with Jackson County, and then it just lists various other city business leaders. So really, again, just interested to see what's going to happen, what this major announcement is going to be. Of course, our coverage will continue as the press conference starts here at 11 o'clock. We're going to bring it to you here on our streaming platforms and on Facebook, so you can share that with everybody else so they can find out just with the rest of us what this major announcement is going to be. Our coverage will then continue throughout our newscast this afternoon on KCTV5 News at noon, 4, 5, 6, and 10 tonight as well. But again, just moments away here, we should be able to hear what this new announcement is going to be. And again, I'm just fired up. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I'm laughing at, what's your take on the bubble letters here? The bubble letters, the bubble numbers. We are 26.
So there's been a lot of people don't like it. They're like,
different.
man, this is really simplistic. For FIFA, we should be seeing, something really
more
modern,
formal.
a little fancy. This, Janae, even on our morning show this morning, said, I could do that in MS Paint. I could make the two, I could drag the logo up there, and there it is,
Yeah.
So, some people not so happy about it. But then again, that's also just the branding. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The real show comes to town here in 3 years.
Yep.
And the story is how Kansas City prepares for it as we go over the next few years, getting ready for everybody to come here to Kansas City.
Yeah, and if there's something about Kansas Cityans, I imagine that one of them they'll take a liking to, and they will go hard with it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we will see this everywhere, on shirts, on swag, on everything. I imagine, not to mention the scarves.
Have our scarves. We're ready to
Which
go.
is soccer, the trademark of soccer, of course. But
No
yeah,
joke.
I know our community will take on to whichever one they prefer. I like the one with the fountain.
Yeah.
I think they all look pretty great. I just love the fact that the colors represent so much of who we are as Kansas Cityans.
Definitely, very cool there. So again, folks getting ready. Our Nathan Vickers and Neil Jones out there right now. So this is a picture that Nathan put up on Twitter here just a few moments ago here, 10:56 this morning. So filling in slowly but surely. It looks like we're getting a few more folks up to the podium here with the live shot. Again, awaiting this 11 a.m. press conference over at Arrowhead, where they're expected to announce some major announcement for the 2026 World Cup. Again, want to thank you guys for joining us here on Facebook and on all of our apps and digital outlets here today. Again, I'm Bill Hurlbrink. She's Jillian Carroll, and we appreciate you for being here again. Your guess is as good as ours. We're trying to figure it out as we go along of what this big announcement could be. I've seen several people try to guess online. You know, a lot of people think this is some big infrastructure project with both of the governors there, maybe some big coordinated bi-state economic development project for a country to come stay to train here in Kansas City.
That would be cool.
You know, how do we use these bi-state incentive programs to attract different organizations here, perhaps? But again, if it's a big project, it's going to take time to unfold.
Right.
We can't do that just a year before it. It's got to start multiple years out.
Yeah, and amazing to think about how long ago this did actually start. The planning process has probably been, I would say, 8 to 10 years in regard to the bid
easily
itself.
And like Neil said, with Lamar Hunt's effort to try to get it here in 1994, and then it was down to Dallas or Kansas City. He simply resided in Dallas at the time. Thus, they got the game. They got where the Mexican team trained out of. So, this is Kansas City's time, and again, just capitalizing on our momentum over the last several months here. Like I said before, maybe even the last decade here.
Yeah,
it's been excited to see it. I can only see us going up from here.
Yeah, and I think one major thing that sets us apart is the fact that the community has shown up for every watch party of a national team, whether it be men's or women's. Every time the Mexican national team has come to Arrowhead and played, it's been sold out crowds.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think all of those things that the community has been doing, not only the community leaders, of course, in the bid and all the fundraising, et cetera, but really just the support of the game and the support of the city. So.
Well, it is 11 o'clock now, which is when the press conference was supposed to start. In typical fashion, it looks like we're going to run a little bit late here. So we're going to stick with you here until we go on with the press conference. Again, showing you different sites from around town. You can see down at the fountain there on the plaza. That looks like they're getting ready to do. That's one of the murals that they were doing, a painting on the lawn down there, I believe. So if you're out on the plaza, go in there to walk around the park or grab some lunch here this afternoon. Maybe you can swing over there and take a peek at it there on your afternoon walk. And then got a little super zoom here of the podium on one of the other channels we're keeping an eye on. Didn't know if somebody was walking up there to the...
Oh, yeah. So far we see President of Sporting Kansas City, Jake Reed, in the house.
Oh, yeah, he was there. I thought I saw Clark Hunt a second ago, but maybe he's back with the rest of the highfalutin folks out there.
I did catch when co-owner of KC Current, Angie Long, will be in the house as well. Again, this is just the who's who of sports in the city, all there, including Neil Jones and Nathan Vickers.
That's right.
Wouldn't be complete without our team there.
No joke, no joke. So, again, waiting for this announcement coming up here anytime. We should be able to see them approach the podium and the dais there. Again, speaking today, Mayor Quentin Lucas, Mike Parson, Governor of Missouri, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, Clark Hunt with the Chiefs, Cliff Illig with Sporting Kansas City, Kathy Nelson with the Kansas City Sports Commission, which I don't think we can speak enough about her and what she's done for Kansas City. I mean, outside of maybe the mayor's office, she's just been instrumental in all of the success here in Kansas City, at least with like the NFL draft and with the NCAA tournaments and Big 12 tournaments and everything here over the last several months. Just instrumental for the success of the city. Frank White with Jackson County, of course, Royals Hall of Famer, is going to be there as well. And then leaders from the Kansas City business community is what our media advisory is telling us. Looks like still some folks taking some pictures there, getting ready for this to get underway here anytime. 11 o'clock is when it was supposed to kick off here. So do we have anybody going up there towards the podium yet? Or are we still
looks
waiting
like
on them here a little bit?
Taking their seats. Does look like a full house.
It does look like a full house
don't
there,
see
yeah.
any empty seats there.
Trying to see if we recognize anybody else up there towards the podium. Looks like Kathy Nelson maybe walking up there, possibly.
Possibly.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we've got someone on the podium here.
Hopefully, getting everybody seated, getting everybody up here so we can get this shindig underway. Again, I want to thank you for joining us here on Facebook and all the different media platforms that we have here at KCTV5 for joining us. World Cup 2026, FIFA World Cup, of course, had re-announced their branding overnight. And this announcement came from Kansas City here about 2 days ago. We were told there's going to be a major announcement at Arrowhead today at 11 o'clock, and we are anxiously anticipating what that announcement will be. Is it a big economic development project? Is it talking about how many games we're going to have? Again,
Maybe we're hosting a team.
Maybe we're hosting a team.
I'm just going to put it into existence.
As Neil was saying, this is a larger World Cup this year, 48 countries. There's going to be additional games. We're talking 39 days, over 100 matches to be held in North America throughout several host cities. Maybe we'll see which games, which matches we get here in Kansas City. Looks like we have some folks walking in right now.
Mayor Kelly.
That's Governor Laura Kelly right there, yes.
Governor Kelly there. Right before that, Cliff Illig took a seat there.
Let's see, Governor Mike Parson in the city next to Clark Hunt, it looks like. Sure, it looks like we're about to get underway. As the mayor approaches the podium, we'll let him take it away.
It is a beautiful crowd in Kansas City today. Good morning, everyone. What an amazing time to be here in Kansas City as we celebrate World Cup 2026, KC 2026, and as you can see in our beautiful design, we are Kansas City. Let's give a round of applause for everyone who's a part. Today, we are another step closer to achieving a milestone toward hosting the FIFA World Cup in 2026. Our team effort to bring the World Cup to Kansas City has culminated in our success today as we prepare to be one of few American cities selected to host the largest sporting event in the world. Kansas City, already, thanks to many of you, has earned recognition as the soccer capital of America, with a growing collection of world-class venues in Missouri and Kansas, championship teams with a rich history of hosting international competitions, and of course, outstanding investment from the people of Kansas City, the state of Missouri, the state of Kansas, and our entire region. Over the last 15 years, Kansas City has invested more than $600 million in championship-level soccer facilities, with our good friends, the Kansas City Current, set to open a new Riverfront Stadium in 2024. Kansas City truly is a sports city, and we are thrilled to unveil our World Cup brand throughout our city. We have come a long way, and I look forward to the excitement ahead as we continue to make Kansas City an international destination for sports, for culture, for business, and for everyone to get to know our outstanding and, Governor, amazing brand in this part of the country. The World Cup will bring jobs to our residents, will generate hundreds of millions of dollars for our region, and will illustrate on a global scale what we have known for some time. Not just that Kansas City is the soccer capital of America, but Kansas City is the sports, cultural, business heart of America. We're proud to be an international city, and we're proud to welcome all. And I'll speak just a little bit of Spanish to prove it, because FIFA always asks me to do so. Es por eso que hoy es muy orgulloso anunciar la Comisión de Alcaldes para Nuevos Americanos, para garantizar que todos tengan un papel en nuestra comunidad y la Copa Mundial. Haremos que la ciudad emita una solicitud de propuestas para el transporte público desde el centro hasta el aeropuerto. In other words, what we're also announcing, thank you, yeah, I know. A few people got that. What we also are announcing today are two things at the city that we're doing to support. We're establishing a Mayor's Commission for New Americans to make sure that new American communities that are part of our city are not just part of the World Cup, but part of business, commercial, and cultural opportunities each and every day. And another step that we are doing is making sure today that we're issuing an RFP to help support public transportation between the center of our city to the Kansas City International Airport. En español or in English, we are ready for an exciting time coming ahead with the World Cup, We thank so many of you in connection with all that we'll be doing over the years ahead, and we know we have a lot of work to do ahead. With that, I say thank you so much. You have some outstanding speakers, but let's go and be ready for 2026 here in Kansas City. Thank you.
Mayor Lucas, muchas gracias. A few years ago, when we began the bid process for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, Kansas City was an underdog. Of course, we now know that 11 American cities were picked to host. But when we started the process, there were 28 cities bigger than Kansas City who were putting bids together, and 20 of those were in the United States. But as we all know, this is a city that finds ways to get things done. Hosting the FIFA World Cup is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for our city, our community, and our region. For fans, this will be a chance to not only attend one of the largest sporting events in the world, but to welcome visitors from all over the country and all over the globe right here to Kansas City. For business and local leaders, this is an opportunity to show off Kansas City as a premier place to live, work, and play. That's why each of the professional sports teams in Kansas City has committed to supporting this project. I recently spoke to a group of civic leaders, and I told them that we are in a championship era here in Kansas City. It started with Sporting Kansas City winning the MLS Cup in 2013. It continued with the Royals' trips to the World Series in 2014 and 15. And now the Chiefs are proud to carry the torch with 2 Super Bowl victories in the last 4 years. Each of these teams, along with our partners at the Kansas City Current, are proud to financially support this effort, and each is committed to helping create a world-class experience for the world's biggest sporting tournament. None of this would be possible without the fantastic work of the Kansas City Sports Commission and all those involved in the bid process. In particular, I want to recognize Kathy Nelson and Catherine Holland, who have been instrumental in Kansas City's efforts to host games. I also want to thank Governor Parson and Governor Kelly for their leadership, as well as the all-star group of local leaders who are here today and who do so much in our community. This is going to be a big team effort. We're lucky to have such a talented group of civic and community leaders as part of the host committee. And we're looking forward to working together to showcase Kansas City on the international stage. As we prepare to host the FIFA World Cup here in this building, I can't help but think about my dad. He was dreaming of this as far back as 1966. Not long after he brought the Chiefs to Kansas City, my dad watched his first World Cup final. He was captivated by the passion of the fans and the beauty of the game, and that proved to be what inspired him to bring professional soccer to the United States. And in 2026, 60 years after my dad first had that dream, the FIFA World Cup will be played in a stadium he once called his favorite place on earth, GEHA Field at Arrowhead. My family and I are thrilled to be part of this remarkable event, and we are proud to show off everything that makes Kansas City so special to sports fans all around the world. And it is now my privilege to turn the mic over to my co-chair, Cliff Illig.
Good morning. Has everybody had enough of the build-up for World Cup 2026? So, hang on, you got more to come. Thank you, Clark. It's great to see everybody here today. I recognize a whole bunch of the faces from our series of World Cup events, announcements, presentations, and that sort of thing. And it's really a credit to everybody in this room that we're able to stand here today. You know, we all owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the Hunt family. Lamar, Clark, Dan, the entire family. Kansas City would not be what it is today on the national sports landscape or have the global recognition that goes with great teams playing for and winning championships for our city. Also, we would not be here today without the vision and 50 years plus of investment by the Hunt family in Kansas City's development and growth of soccer, the sport. So Clark, thank you. Thank your family and for your sustained leadership and certainly your partnership in all that we do. They asked me to as we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about where do we go from here, they asked me to spend a little bit of time covering how we got here. The process of positioning Kansas City as a host city for the 2026 FIFA World Cup has been going on for over 7 years. In April of 2017, the United States, Canada, and Mexico agreed to jointly bid to host the 2026 World Cup. In June 2018, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico were awarded the 2026 World Cup. Over the next 3 years, led by the Kansas City Sports Commission, Sporting Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the City of Kansas City, in addition to a partnership with many others, we prepared our bid to host World Cup 2026. In October of 2021, FIFA, CONCACAF, and U.S. Soccer all visited Kansas City for a site visit and a final comprehensive review of the city's ability to be a host city for the world's biggest event, sporting or otherwise, viewed by billions around the globe. It was at the conclusion of this visit that Victor Montagliani, who's the president of CONCACAF, complimented our city on its World Cup 2026 proposal and presentation by saying, "The beauty of football is that it's not about your size, it's about the size of your heart." On June 16th last year, FIFA announced that Kansas City would be one of 11 cities to host the World Cup in 2026. FIFA selected 3 cities on the West Coast, 3 cities on the East Coast, 2 cities in the Southeast, 2 cities in Texas, and then Kansas City in the middle to be the hub of it all. The selection of Kansas City, the 31st largest market in the U.S., was made over the very worthy proposals submitted by Denver, Nashville, Cincinnati, Orlando, and Washington, D.C. That is a tribute to the collective and highly collaborative efforts of so many in our state, county, and city governments, our region's sports community, along with the Chiefs, the Royals, the Kansas City Current, and Sporting Kansas City, and our outstanding, very outstanding regional economic development, civic, and philanthropic organizations. It's been a very large, dedicated team and a tremendous joint effort that has invested thousands and thousands of hours in all the planning, the proposals, the presentations, and the formal commitments required to produce a World Cup. Many have asked, why has Kansas City been successful up against all these other really great cities with our bid? Was it our brand new airport? Was it Arrowhead as one of the greatest sports venues in the country? Was it our region's reputation as the soccer capital of America? Was it our region's lifestyle, our Midwest hospitality assets? Or was it our legacy of American sports excellence and performance demonstrated by the Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting Kansas City, and KU basketball, who have all won their sports championships over the past decade? Or is it because we host great, highly visible, highly successful sporting events in Kansas City, such as the World Series, 5 AFC championship games, Major League Baseball's All-Star Game, MLS Cup, internationally recognized soccer watch parties at Power and Light, many Big 12 tournaments, and just a couple of weeks ago, the 2023 NFL Draft. I think we can argue that all of these factors have contributed to Kansas City's formidable standing and reputation as one of America's great sports cities, and collectively positions us exceptionally well to host an outstanding World Cup in 2026. This all works because of the substantial commitment of time, talent, and resources across our entire region. It is the collaboration of dozens of partner organizations working together that will propel us to success as a World Cup host city. This all works, frankly, because of you. We have a tremendous amount of work ahead to build, execute our statement to the world as a great World Cup city. The investments we make over the next 3 years will shape the future of our region for decades to come. So with that, please join me in welcoming Kathy Nelson, CEO of the Sports Commission here in Kansas City, as well as Visit KC, to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. As Cliff shared, my name is Kathy Nelson. I serve as President and CEO for both the Kansas City Sports Commission and Visit KC. And first, I do want to thank Mayor Lucas. Phone calls nightly, weekends, mornings. Thank you so much. And of course, to both Clark and Cliff, thank you both for the past years of work that have gone into this. Their support and guidance, of course, have been critical to all that we've done to get here today. You know, it has been a multi-year bid process. There's no doubt. Looking around the room, I think if all of you really truly knew how all of these teams have worked together for hours and hours every week on top of our other jobs, I think you would be blown away and surprised and so proud of how our community has worked together and how it has united our region to get us here today. I also want to recognize Catherine Holland here in the front row with us. As Catherine has served as our bid director, Catherine played a crucial role in showing FIFA and the world that we are truly ready for the international spotlight. And her ongoing work these past 10 months, which is all she has been doing 7 days a week, is a testament to her community and to the project and to Kansas City. So thank you. So as you've no doubt seen this morning, we've unveiled the new city branding for the 2026 World Cup, which is specific to Kansas City, and there are activations across the community right now. So thank you to the KC Streetcar, thank you to George at Union Station, and thank you, of course, to Parks and Rec in the city. You'll see lots of these painted green spaces around our city, so please take pictures, post on social, and let's show the world that we're ready to welcome them in 2026. So now I have the honor of formally announcing the entity that will lead World Cup efforts going forward, KC 2026. This nonprofit organization will oversee the strategy and the deliverables for FIFA World Cup in 2026. KC 2026 is comprised of a board of directors, 5 of whom will serve as officers of the executive committee. Karen Daniel will serve as president. Neil Sharma and Jake Reed will serve as vice presidents. I have the honor of serving as secretary, and Esther George will serve as treasurer. In addition to the committee, there are 12 at-large members whose names you can see on the screen behind me. These individuals represent our elected officials, professional sports teams, civic organizations, and local businesses. Together, this group is responsible for overseeing KC 2026 and ensuring Kansas City's success as a World Cup host city. But please know, these names are just not it. A lot of you, if not all of you in the room, will be called upon to help us serve as we move forward. Finally, I want to take a moment to introduce KC 2026 Board President and our next speaker, Karen Daniel. Karen has been a decades-long business and civic leader for our region. Following her career as the Executive Director, Chief Financial Officer, and President of the Global Finance and Technology Solutions Division of Black & Veatch, Karen continues to make an impact on Kansas City. I have no doubt that she is the right person to lead our efforts moving forward, so please welcome Karen Daniel.
Thank you, Kathy, for that introduction, and thanks again to all of you who are in the room today. This is really an amazing day and an incredible opportunity for our city, and I am honored to be able to be part of this and serve on the KC 2026 board and to really get us ready for the 3 short years that we have to host the FIFA. So I am born and raised in Kansas City with a family of public servants and educators and community leaders. And so I hope as I make my way through this journey, I continue to live in that legacy of the family that we have. I didn't play sports per se, I can't say that, but I am certainly a fan. And all of us here today should have, this opportunity to sit in this great moment of pride, because all that has been done heretofore to get us here, this is our launching pad. Second, obviously the bid process was very instrumental. But I have had an opportunity to work on some global projects in my time at Black and Beach. So I was able to see what a global operation looks like and how to be successful at it. And this is an opportunity where some of those talents and skills hopefully will come into play as we prepare for the FIFA. Now, Kansas City is, in my view, sitting in a place where we have an opportunity to be recognized on a level that so far we haven't been able to get that recognition. Not because we didn't try, but all the things that Clark and Cliff talked about, we're positioned for this at this moment in time. So we will have the opportunity to really work on this, make it a great success for our city. And, we have all these folks that are committed. Kathy just went through the board. I think we have an amazing team that has come together, and we will really, really get this done well. Throughout the bid process, it was clear to all of us that this was the ideal place to host FIFA. And in doing that, we also knew that we needed an organization that would support this effort and get it done in the fashion we all expect to get it done. So I want to say first, thanks to everyone on the board, thanks for everyone who came out today, and that also all that effort that we're going to put in will put Kansas City on the map around sports, business, and a talent destination for us. This will last for a very long time. As we go through this endeavor, Kathy mentioned the various civic leaders that are included, and on the board, we are working toward basically 5 objectives. We are working on the fact that, we have to be the primary connection to FIFA. We have to deliver on our contract responsibilities to FIFA. And then we also have the responsibility to identify and secure funds for this activity, and at the same time, engage the community, which is part of my favorite thing. I love working on community projects and engaging in that effort. Then I'd like to say that both of us, both states, are going to create a meaningful amount of contribution to this and engagement. And our last one is pursuing legacy investments and opportunities that will allow Kansas City to grow even further. So those are the 5 things that we'll be working on. In this time, we all are committed. We all have an opportunity. Kansas City, the region, there are 2.5 million people who can help make this a successful project. And I'm certain everybody's signing up for that. Say yes. Say yes. So alongside our many partners in the region, we are moving intentionally and with great focus to bring to fruition an event that will shape our community's future for generations to come. This is a big deal and will have a very lasting impact on our community. So now I would like to invite Frank White, our Jackson County executive, to the stage. We all know Frank as an amazing baseball player and now an amazing executive for Jackson County.
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Mayor, my Spanish that I learned was I could eat and get paid. All the other Spanish I learned from players is not right for this audience. But thank you again, Karen. And, I just want to welcome everyone here today to Jackson County's Truman Sports Complex. And when I stand here before you today, not just as a county executive, but as a proud resident of Jackson County itself. And almost a year ago, when we got the news that Kansas City was going to be a host city for the World Cup, I just think back to that day at Power and Light when all the excitement of the crowd, it was so loud you couldn't hardly hear yourself, and just seeing the faces of the folks, and just knowing that we were stepping out on a stage that we've never been on before, and it's a world stage, and I think these are the things that we continue to think about on a daily basis. And when I think about that day, it was so much excitement you couldn't help but get chills from the crowd and how excited they were. Yeah, when I think back to 1972, and I worked across the street I was doing construction across the street on Kaufman Stadium, Royal Stadium then, when Arrowhead opened in '72. And who would have imagined that this would be Arrowhead's destiny, to be able to showcase the world on a world stage when the World Cup comes itself. But Arrowhead has hosted some of the greatest artists of our time, U2, Rolling Stones, Garth Brooks. And also, and we're getting ready for guess who? Taylor Swift and Beyonce. So it's also hosted some of the greatest athletes to ever play the game. Guys like Len Dawson, Joe Montana. We look at Derek Thomas and Patrick Mahomes, and my all-time favorite, Otis Taylor. So, but hosting the World Cup is really a testament to our community. It's a testament to our pride. And just in 3 short years, as Karen was saying, just 3 short years, Arrowhead Stadium, the loudest stadium in the world, will be packed with tens of thousands of fans from around the globe. That is what is exciting about this whole process. And let's not forget that all of these amenities that they will be able to take advantage of and enjoy would not be possible had it not been for the taxpayers of Jackson County. So Jackson County taxpayers, this is your achievement. And as we look, thank you. So as we look forward to 2026, we will work alongside our partners to ensure that when the world turns the lights on and the eyes are all on Jackson County, they'll see us in our very best light. So I want to thank each of you for being part of this journey. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a colleague, a friend, a fellow Missourian, Governor Mike Parson.
Well, good morning, everyone. What an exciting day to be in Kansas City. It's a good day for me to be in Kansas City, trust me. It's been a little bit of a rough week, to say that. But to be here today, to see all of you here, to see the coverage that the World Cup is getting is just second to none. And I realize how important this day is coming our way. You heard some of the speakers reference up here that, 3 years is not very long. And I was talking to Clark backstage a little bit, and he was talking about it's kind of like trying to get on a treadmill, and you finally get on it, and we're on it right now, and that's how you finish. I said, no, Clark, really it's not. You're on the clock right now. You're on the clock. So it's a matter of us getting this to this day to come for Kansas City. I want to thank, first of all, Mayor, it's always great to be in Kansas City. Appreciate you, your hospitality. Good to have my fellow governor from Kansas here, to be here. All the dignitaries here, Clark, you and your family, Frank, and I'm Kathy, as I go down the list, and I'll miss somebody. But I tell you, I've had so much great fortune as governor to have some experiences I never dreamed of in Kansas City. I never dreamed I would be in a parade with 1 million people celebrating a Super Bowl. And everybody's wondering how we're going to pull that off. How's that going to work? And as far as I know, everything went perfectly, other than the one guy that fell out of the tree when I went by. That's the only thing I've seen, but I think a lot of that was self-inflicted on that day. We just did the NFL draft. Nobody's thinking you're going to have an NFL draft. Never ever believed most of us would ever be there to see that. But the point I make out of both of them events, Kansas City come together like no other. The city did. The organizations did. And pulled off two of the largest events that I know of in my lifetime to be able to do that. Not to mention winning 2 Super Bowls and what that means. But now you've done all those things so well, Kathy. Now you've got to get to a bigger stage. And we've got to do more. And we're going to showcase Missouri like it's never been shown before, and we're going to showcase Kansas City. As I travel, I've been to Israel, to Greece, to the UK, to Germany, to Sweden, to the Netherlands. And as I talk about Missouri, I will guarantee you the conversation is going to come up about the World Cup in 2026. It's one of the biggest selling points we are using now to try to promote Missouri and Kansas City. And when you think of everything going on around here, how proud I am to be able to have that opportunity to do that. So it's an exciting time. And 3 years, believe it or not, if you look back on all the things you did in the world in your lifetime, they go by in a blink of an eye. So you got a lot of work to do, and you got to have a lot of partners. And I want you to know that Missouri is going to be a partner. You got a lot of legislators here today. I've seen them in here. So first of all, I got to thank them because I think they put a little something in the budget this year for that. So you owe them all a very, very good round of applause for what they did. And John Rizzo, a good friend of mine, to be on the commission. We're honored to have you in that position representing us on there. We look forward to that. So they've did their part. And now I'm going to ask everybody else to do their part. And I'm not even here to try to get you to open up your checkbooks and make all these commitments. I would say Clark and Cliff will before it's over. But I would tell you this. We're going to help by our commitment. You're one signature away. One signature away, and I've got on pretty good authority, you're in really good shape for that, for us to be able to present you $50 million to help with the World Cup. Now, Governor Kelly, out of due respect, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you. But game on is all I got to say. All right, this is us doing it together on that. So I want to thank everybody. Thanks for allowing me to be up here today. Thanks for hosting the World Cup. Clark said something up here that I thought about when he said, he said there was 28 other cities out there, bigger cities. That may be so in population. But there's one thing I know about Kansas City. Nobody has a bigger heart than Kansas City, Missouri, and what we're about to undertake to be world-class soccer from the world, and we will be center stage, and I guarantee you we will not leave anything on the table to make this the best event the world has ever seen. Thank you for having me here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Parsons. Who's that signature? Do we need to, do we need to call him? Or thank you, seriously. I'm now going to introduce Governor Kelly, and this is another reflection of the collaboration across our region. We talk about Kansas City, but Kansas City is a region, and I think it's just really remarkable the number of legislators from both sides of the state line, the number of business leaders who are willing to jump in and help. So, Governor Kelly, please come forward, and thank you so much for all you're doing on the Kansas side, not only for this, but all you do.
Oh, Governor. I've already signed it. So, good morning, everybody. I am truly delighted to be here at Arrowhead. I too want to thank everybody who has been instrumental in making Kansas City the host city, or one of the host cities for the 2026 World Cup. And I especially want to thank everybody on the KC 2026 team. I also want to acknowledge my Lieutenant Governor, who couldn't be with us today, David Toland. He also moonlights as our Secretary of Commerce. But David played an incredibly pivotal role in securing this bid. This was a bi-state effort, and I couldn't be prouder that the KC Metro region has been selected alongside an elite group of cities in North America to host what will be the largest World Cup ever. I know Governor Parson, Mayor Lucas, Mayor Gardner, here, and I are looking forward to working with FIFA and U.S. Soccer and our sister host cities across the country to make it the best World Cup ever. This is an exciting time to be a sports fan in Kansas City. In case anyone needs reminding, which they've already had, we're here at the home of our very own Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. And we did just host the NFL Draft. And if anybody has a direct line to Patrick Mahomes, would you tell him that I do not appreciate the fact that the governor of Kentucky has shaken his hand and I have not? So, and I want to, and thanks in large part to Sporting Kansas City and its work to unite fans across state lines. This region is the soccer capital of the United States. So when the World Cup returns to the United States in 2026, for only the second time in its nearly 100-year history, it makes perfect sense that part of the tournament will be held right here. We are in the heart of the United States, both geographically and culturally, and people from all over the world will soon discover all that this bi-state region has to offer. Hosting what is projected to be the most watched sporting event in history right in our own backyard will give us an opportunity to showcase the greater Kansas City community to a global audience. The 2026 World Cup and the dozens of events and activities in the weeks leading up to it will boost tourism and have huge economic benefits for the Kansas City metro region, to the tune of $620 million, according to some studies. We're prepared to take advantage of this opportunity. We're investing in Children's Mercy Park. The downtown Kansas City area is in the middle of a multi-billion-dollar transformation with plenty of entertainment and dining options to choose from. And the Kansas side is decorated with orange cones as we continue to invest in infrastructures to ensure smooth travels for local and visiting fans. 2026 feels like a long way away, but it will be here way before we know it. I'm delighted that we're assembling a great team to coordinate our planning efforts over the next 3 years. So congratulations to the new board of directors. Senator Dinah Sykes from Lenexa will be representing the Kansas side. I look forward to joining your efforts to get Kansas City ready for its big moment on the world stage. I think with that, Mayor, I'm going to hand it over to you.
So you've heard a lot today. Governor Parson and the Missouri legislature have agreed to contribute $50 million. So on the way out, if anybody has an extra $50 million, we will take it all from you. No, I'm kidding. More than anything, we say thank you to everybody who has been part of this and everyone who will be part of this outstanding effort. This is a great time and a great moment for Kansas City. You heard a lot of different stories, and I think Karen hit it best as a child of Kansas City. I, too, am a child of Kansas City. grew up following these teams, going to all of the sites, seeing great people play games like Frank White and so many others. And we are excited to build more memories. So with the thanks of all of you here, folks from Independence, Lenexa, Kansas City, Overland Park, everywhere in our region, we are thrilled to have the 2026 World Cup here. We are off to the races, and more than anything, when we call, as Kathy will do a time or two between now and 2026, make sure you answer. We look forward to having the entire region, all of our cultures, every spot represented, and we thank you all for being part of KC 2026. We are Kansas City, and we look forward to hosting an exceptional 2026 FIFA World Cup. Thank you all so much for being here.
All right, so there concludes the press conference for We Are 26 Kansas City. The couple of different announcements there made by everybody in attendance. We heard about the formation of Kansas City 2026, which is going to be the group of individuals here in the Kansas City area that kind of spearhead as we move forward over the next 3 years, comprised of Kansas City business leaders, also Jake Reed from Sporting Kansas City, Kathy Nelson from the Sports Commission, and Esther George from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. You can see the list there here on your screen as we pull up some of the Twitter accounts. Also, a release just came out from the organization as well that contains all of this. But Jillian, and the other announcement is that Governor Mike Parson of the Show Me State, Missouri, $50 million pledged to this as well. Also, I think it's important to remember what the mayor said as well. Mayor Quentin Lucas said that he is going to be forming a commission for new Americans and also issuing an RFP, which is a request for proposals for a public transportation from the center of Kansas City to the new terminal at KCI. So a lot coming out here at this press conference. Your initial takeaways as you kind of digest all that's just happened.
Yeah, it's a lot of information. Am I disappointed that we didn't learn more about the matches and who would be in our city? Yeah, I can't pretend I'm not. However, I do think it was a really nice moment to reflect on the history of the game in our community. Even back to Clark Hunt mentioning, this goes back to Lamar Hunt's dream 60 years ago. And so hearing him talk about his father, hearing Mike Illig also talking a little bit about just the history and the development of the game over time. The fan bases have grown, the facilities have evolved. We mentioned that as well. It's really nice to reflect on that. So I hope that Kansas Cityans are proud of where we've come from and excited about where we're headed with this. But certainly the biggest takeaways is that Missouri has made a big statement there.
Really stepped up to the plate, but also Governor Kelly, not to be outdone, did suggest that Children's Mercy Park has been slotted some funds for additional redevelopment out there. And I know our own Nathan Vickers was talking about thinking, well, maybe how are they going to use Sporting Park? Are they going to hold a match there? Is it big enough? Maybe it's training. Maybe it's something else. So with that additional revenue, will they be able to redesign that so we can host something out there. So still getting some funds from the state of Kansas, but again, the big one, Mike Parson showing $50 million in investment from the Show Me State. And then, of course, the mayor tacking on there. If anybody else has an extra $50 million laying around, go ahead and we'll put it to good use here. So interesting things coming out. We'll go ahead and check Twitter here real quick. Janae Hancock has been manning the plane for us here this morning and kind of see what initial reaction is here from folks. What do we got here, Janae? We've got the FIFA World Cup 26 Kansas City Twitter, and they had a lot of pictures, a lot of information from everything coming up. Again, list of the KC 2026 Board of Directors, basically a who's who of Kansas City business leaders, all coming together to really spearhead this effort as we go through the next year. And I think the big sentiment is that 3 years, it's 3 years, but it's really not that far away. It's going to be here before we know it. And I did appreciate Governor Kelly's come to the state of Kansas where we have plenty of orange barrels.
I love that.
Indicative of all the
Decorated
infrastructure
by-
projects ongoing now, getting ready for what's coming down the pipe here 3 years from now.
Yeah, it was interesting to see a little bit of fun there from both
Mm-hmm.
the Missouri side, the Kansas side. I do think it's important to point out, of course, the president of the board there is going to be Karen Daniel
Yes.
of Black and Veatch, and she point blank gave us 5 kind of things she's going to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're going to be the primary point of contact with FIFA. They are going to deliver on the contract with FIFA, so they've got a lot of work
That's
there.
a big important thing that people don't realize. I mean, there's a lot of individualized things that have to be done contractually in order for these games to come here.
Most of the time involving some fundraising, so that was third on the list there, fundraising. And also she made a point of touching on engaging with the community, and she
Yes.
mentioned being super passionate about that. Also that this is a bi-state effort, and then of course pursuing legacy investments, which I appreciate her including this, because yes, it's 3 years from now, yes, it's a massive event, however, it doesn't stop then. And so for Kansas City to continue to benefit from the work and from hosting this event, so I appreciate the legacy investments there.
Yeah, we don't do all this work over the next 3 years for just 39 days of games. How do we make this investment last, not just, for that initial 39 days, but for the years and the decades to come?
Right, and to be considered in, Kansas City being thrown in the pot, if you will, for future events like this, not just, you remember 2026, you know? So I hope this is the start of more.
Definitely. So, again, very big announcements there coming in the press conference today with $50 million of investment coming from the state of Missouri. And again, the creation of this KC 2026 Council. Our coverage is going to continue here throughout the afternoon on KCTV5 News at noon. 4, 5, 6, and 10 are Neil Jones, Nathan Vickers are currently live there. They're going to be getting some interviews with some of the makers and doers that are up there on the dais that spoke today, and also get some reactions from people around town as well. And we'll have those for you coming up on later newscasts.
Interesting to know what you all at home are thinking. So always share your thoughts. Always interested to know what's going on.
Definitely. So that's going to wrap it up for us today. But again, want to thank you guys for watching, for following along. KC 2026. Here we go. FIFA World Cup right around the corner. Thanks again.